Anything we can do to help the actors imagine what it's actually like when they're there helps them on a blue screen stage.
When you get somebody that's talented, that has this desire to tell a story, you've got a Previs artist.
Through Previs, suddenly we're designing not just shots, but whole sequences of films, and we're deciding lenses, and we're deciding camera angles and pacing. There was something in it that clearly spoke to the future of film production and where everything was headed.
My strongest belief about where Previs should be is it needs to be finally recognized as a major force in the industry. It needs to have its own department. Previs is an absolutely important part of the artistic process of setting up a movie, and it's absolutely instrumental for producers to understand how they can break down and schedule a movie in a way that's so much more effortless than working off storyboards or just the script.
The thing about Previs, it's not like working on a final shot. It's about how that shot fits as a piece within a puzzle of the shots around it and the scenes around it and the movie as a whole.
If a director has the opportunity to look at his film being constructed in advance in a Previs form, he can see various story beats taking shape. He can see the flow of the film.
The single most important thing that a team or supervisor needs to do on a daily basis is communicate. Previs helps this communication process by putting it in a visual medium. The department can act as an information nexus, driven by the director's vision, tempered by the production, and informed by all the different players in the room, from visual effects to the art department to stunts and special effects.
One of the most difficult things is getting your crew to understand what it is you're talking about, because everybody reads a script differently. Then, when you take everything that you've been talking about and try and get a visual effects studio to do it. They're consummate filmmakers in their own right, but we speak these two different languages. It took me 3 or 4 years to even understand what anybody said at ILM. I mean, we used to have a little booklet that we'd translate.
I go back and forth on the value of Previs to a show. I've seen a lot of Previs done and has never really panned out. People have got to be clear at the beginning what they think is really valuable to the show. But I tell you, if it's used like we did in War of the Worlds, the post on that was done in 3 months, and that was because we stuck to it all through the shoot. Steven agreed to what it was going to be through the shoot, so the Previs matched the location and then matched Steven's idea of what it should be. Incredibly valuable.
Previs is absolutely the most integral and important part for us, that every director understands the limitations that he has, especially in terms of the context of virtual set software where you can actually see what you're shooting in real time. And that's probably one of the most difficult things that all Previs artists have to deal with. Directors who don't understand the process, and directors who need to be able to communicate what it is they want to see. And it is the most collaborative of all mediums. Often on a large film, there'll be 2,200 people working on a movie. Not all at one time, but all throughout that process. In order to get the best out of them, you have to be able to communicate with them. The best way to communicate with them is with images, not words.
We need to be able to make changes for the director on the fly in the actual software like Maya or Softimage. The director can literally come over and say, oh, wait a minute, why don't you move the main character over like this? And can you make that out of focus in the background? And they see the results right there. And that's the power of keeping the assets very lightweight and manageable, so you can keep the entire process real time.
A lot of the things that we want our various Previs artists to be able to understand is the ability to use lens information, lens changes to help tell a story. The nice thing about this is you have your digital set in place. You have your digital camera available, so if you want to experiment, you can experiment.
As we're designing shots, as we're building environments, as we're exploring these new places, there's always one eye towards just the creative, the emotional. How's it going to look? What's the story? Is this really going to evoke the feeling that you want it to evoke? But you also have this other mind's eye that's looking at it as, where is the camera? Can this be filmed? Is this within the bounds of reality?
So if everyone agrees that the performance that's in that previs at the action phase is correct, then you can start placing virtual cameras into the scene and photographing that action and do coverage, and then those shots get captured and cut together into the sequence.
These shots are meaningless unless they're edited, unless they're placed, unless they're cut, unless their music is put to them, unless we really understand the process of what these images mean.
Editorial is sort of where it all goes down, where you get an amalgam of the storyboards coming together with the previs, coming together with final imagery, and all of those elements can kind of mix into what I like to call sort of a design document for the movie.
The shots that are created through previs have to be cut together in almost every case, and that can happen in the earliest pitch viz phases, it can happen in the pre-production phase, it can happen in a post-viz phase.
It's there to be critiqued and to see the status of the movie so everyone can go forward with confidence that, hey look, you know, the movie is getting better and better. The previs process can empower the editor with the footage that they need to make sure that that movie is as tight as possible.
The way George always has seen it is, and he's right, and it's going to be this way, is you want all that to be done by one or the same team of people. And the post part of it, the director ought to be either doing it himself or right with the previous guy doing it. So you don't fragment the creativity in the film.
So at the end of a successful previs process, the director needs to be able to look at the previs and say, that's what I want my movie to be. And all the collaborators that are in charge of producing those shots have to be able to say what was depicted in them is achievable within the parameters of the production.
I mean, we had altogether a team of 12 on episode 3, which is the most we ever had on any of the Star Wars films. But we had the most complicated action, too, in that film. We spent $1.1 million for all of our guys for a 2.5-year period during the whole prep, shooting, and post of the film. It's just inestimable how much we saved. $10–15 million easy. There's no question about it. And that's just on the production side. On visual effects, it's just incalculable.
In the earliest days, we kind of treated previs like a technical process. So, it must be used for final visual effects, for the exploding dinosaurs and all of this really complicated imagery. But actually, I advocate the opposite, which really is that in a scene that's very intimate, it's about the drama of the characters interacting. This is what you can do with previs, is you can really test out all the various subtle camera options, things that you probably wouldn't have thought of or had the time to try out on the day. All of a sudden, you're empowered with a film that makes it look like you hit a home run on every single shot.